That's really quick. Hello, future bestsellers. Sorry for the late start. I had a little bit of a I just had like a mess this morning. Like I just could not get it together. Got out of the shower, realized I was like super late, freaked out. Anyway, so here I am, a little out of breath, but we made it. We all live. Um, did you? Lisa Daly is late. Can you see my shocked face? Horror Geek, stop giving me crap first thing in the morning. Yep, very good. Okay, so anyway, let's say hi to everybody in the chat. How are you, Robert? Before I just go, and sorry, my face is all red, crazy this morning.
I'm doing okay. I'm here.
All right.
That's the important thing.
Woo! All right, fantastic. Well, let's say hi to our friends in the chat. Hello, Mary Putnam. Mary was having a little issue yesterday with her Ingram distribution. A bookstore could not order books, and so I'd sent her a little question, but I don't think I heard back, and so I want to know like where we are with that. Horror Geek, you're giving me a hard time. Very nice. Very nice. That is so true. Daisy, it's like you're living in our house. Story detective, obviously you're here. Yay. That is also true. Very nice. Lisa McLeod is here. Got a lot of character to work to do. Very good. Mary back in Southern California from she's been in Hawaii for a little while, so that's very nice. I'm a little jelly about that. I've not been to Hawaii in years, but I used to go a lot when I was younger, and because if you live on the West Coast, it's pretty easy to get there. And I was just thinking about it and how much I love the smell of all the flowers when you land in the Honolulu airport. Like it's very humid, but also like this, you just like the scent of the flowers just sort of wafts through the airport. And because it's kind of like, it's been a long time, but as I recall, it used to be sort of indoor, outdoor in some areas. So anyway, Cool Gamers here. Hello. So nice to hear. Mary says, OMG, Ingram was my fault. I'm an idiot. You are not an idiot, but it's easy to see. Let us know in the chat what happened. I'm very curious. That was my first step. So if you hear from a bookstore that they cannot get your books through Ingram Spark, I mean, they would just buy them through Ingram, through their normal channel. But if they're having trouble acquiring your books, the first thing you should do is go back and check your distribution and things like that, just to make sure there are no errors on the book or on your account. So Mary says, Hurricane Lala kicked my butt. I weathered the weather, but now I'm under the weather. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that. It really does. All right. Well, what are you going to be working on today, Robert?
I'm getting back to this Sherlock Holmes novel. I've been in the fourth quarter now for weeks, and the last 2 weeks I only had 2 brief stints, one about an hour and one that was only like 15, 20 minutes while I was waiting for some contractors to show up, and they showed up early, so
what? Contractors that show up early? What kind of alternate universe are you living in? That's awesome. Very, very nice. Well, I'm glad that you are getting back to it today. I actually am working on a workbook project. So I'll be doing that hopefully today. It's like one of those things that I've been thinking about for a while and need to get finished. So Avi's here. Hello, friends and enemies. I'm looking at you, Horror Geek. Happy Wednesday. I love that you all have taken it upon yourselves to give him crap because, he enjoys that. No, you have no enemies. We all love you. So, all right, fantastic. Well, who wants to get started with a 5-minute warm-up sprint? Lisa McLeod shocked also contractors earlier as the start of a fantasy novel. Right? It's like if they said, oh, we accidentally almost overcharged you. Sorry about that. Here's $1,000. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with our very first 5-minute warm-up sprint. Me coming in 3 minutes, 2 minutes after the thing. I did not pull it up, so give me a second to do that. Wait. It doesn't want to stop. It's already just going on without us. Here we go. Oh, we lost Robert. He had a little, I don't know if you guys saw it too, but there was a little weirdness with his audio right in the middle of when he was talking. Here he is. There he is. I thought maybe your internet kicked you off.
Yeah, it did. So
All right. Well, hold on one second. We are going to get started with our first 5-minute warm up so we can get our documents open, get our drinks, all that stuff, and get ready to write today. So we're going to put 5 minutes up on the clock. Here we go. Starting now. Starting in 3, 2, 1. See you in 5. All right, we are back. Very nice. Mary says it's a little hard to hear you, Robert. Maybe put your mic closer or turn up the volume. Damn. Sorry.
How's that?
Better, much better.
Okay.
Very good. It's so funny because I saw on StreamYard when I logged in, which is the platform we use to broadcast the lives, that there's a new feature where you can turn up the volume of your guests, but I like passed right through it. So I couldn't find the button, just sort of looking. So I'm like, oh, all right, fine. Avi wrote a random poem. Late Lisa lost. How did she lose? What was the cost? Are you confused? Welcome to the stream with Sir Sherlock Fancy Pantsy writes science fiction. You are such a goofball. I'm so happy to have you here today. So we were going to talk like last week about my terrible, not terrible launch, because like I've had like a ton of stuff going on, a lot of medical issues. And even though my book has been done for 8 months, I was very set on a particular launch day. Oh, you guys will love this because I know a lot of you are a little woo-woo. So the book is like a book about money, right? It's what 7-figure authors do differently. And I had decided that I was going to do a special money launch date, because one of the things that I found out about these 7-figure authors is that they are almost all of them, not all of them, but almost all of them, like overwhelmingly, I'd say probably 95% are a little woo-woo. They have like crystals under their desks and they read tarot cards, and a lot of them are really into manifestation. And so I decided to release the book on 8/8/26. Did I already tell you guys this? I can't remember. Anyway, 8/8/26, which is like triple eights, which is supposed to be in numerology, like a super magic money day. And I think it must have worked because the book did pretty well. And I'm excited to say that I have reached a new level or milestone in my little author store. And that is that previously I would like take all the orders and I would print all the postage on like stamps.com, and then I put those in these little envelopes or like these little plastic label thingies. Anyway, the whole process was fine if you're sending out a couple things a day, but if you're sending out like 20 packages, it was very labor intensive and it took me a really long time. So I am proud to say I have invested in a label printer, which feels like a big milestone. So anyway, yay, label printer. So how much longer do you have left in your book, do you think? Like where are you, Robert?
Basically, I'm going over the pages that I did on my couple of little stints here because I didn't check them with my notes. So I'm making sure that I got all the corrections in that I was supposed to. I printed it out here, and the pages here are probably more like a page and a half because it printed it kind of small. So I've got about 10 pages, which is probably more like 15 pages. I don't know if I'll get through all of them today, but I'll be pretty close to finishing, I think.
What? That's awesome. All right, we're gonna have to cram in as many sprints as possible so that we can print. I will say I have just realized last week after the stream, I ended with all of these like weird red marks all over my hands, and I was like, I was not touching a pink pen. Like, how could this have happened? And I just found the culprit. Because here I have another one. I assumed it was pink, but apparently it's orange anyway. So I have it again this week. This is like my proof of life video. This is how you know this is me, and it's not last week because my orange spots are in different places. I will say I was tell me if this is true for you guys. Well, hold on. Let's do Avi says that deserves applause. All right, here we go. You got it. You guys know. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Lisa, this is actually what Avi says I can't get a label maker printer, but I would be labeling everything in the house. We are so soul sisters, girl. Like I swear, Avi, if we ever meet up at a conference, we are gonna be like we've known each other all our lives. We're so similar. Lisa says it's the publishing industry, not the authoring industry. How in the world could an author ever hit 7 figures without some woo woo? Right? True. So, well, that's not true with my book and a solid plan. How about that? Here's the thing. I don't know about you guys, but I was like weepy all day over the loss of Dolly Parton. Like weepy, weepy, weepy all day. And I don't know if it's because I have too much cortisol in my system right now, or if this is, it's probably something. I mean, I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve. I probably, yeah, that's the dog who we call Banana because she's such a big goofball. I was really like upset and really thinking about her. And one of the things that I thought about, one of the stories that's sort of been floating around social media was how she had written I Will Always Love You. And I think she was really young. I want to say she was like 21 or something. And Elvis Presley wanted to record the song. And at the time, you know, he was Elvis and she was Dolly Parton, not the Dolly Parton we know, but like a newer, younger Dolly Parton. And they wanted half of the publishing for I Will Always Love You. And she, with a woman with no power, no leverage, said, no, thank you. And she ended up making an insane amount of money when Whitney Houston later recorded that song. And I was really thinking a lot yesterday, like not only has she produced all this art that we all, you know, everybody loves at least one Dolly Parton song. And we all, you know, and she was just a force for kindness in the world, I think. And I think that's why so many people just love her and feel so connected to her. But also, she was really smart. Like, she handled her career in a way that was really brilliant, especially at the time, to control her own publishing. And how many songs did she write? Like 1 billion? And to control her own publishing at that time when she really didn't have much leverage at all was just incredibly, incredibly smart.
Yeah, I've never been a huge fan of country music, but I respect what she did. And she did a lot of work behind the scenes. She had her own production company, which I didn't know until not that long ago, called Sand Dollar Productions. And you don't see her name attached, but it was like a producer of shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
And I guess she didn't like visit the set a lot, but they said she sent like all the actors, some of them just starting out, gifts in appreciation for what they were doing, the good work. Sarah Michelle Gellar got Christmas presents from her every year. And I think she was working with her on a Buffy reboot that was supposed to be happening soon. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. And a friend of mine found a letter that she would send to all the kids that subscribe to her like Imagination Library.
Yeah.
Made him cry when I read it and read like the last few lines of encouragement. It really was an encouraging letter. So she did a lot. She
really did. She made a big, big, big dent in the universe, and all of us can, you know, could only hope to have the impact that she's had on as many lives as she had. Here's a fun fact about Buffy. Buffy and Dolly Parton share the same birthday. Buffy, the fictional character, and Dolly, the human. Yes. Avi says 9 to 5 is a classic. The horror geek will attest that when he came to bed last night, I was in fact in bed watching 9 to 5, like just laughing my butt off at the scene where she tells Dabney Coleman she's going to change him from a rooster to a hen with one shot. For chasing her around the desk. Love that. Yes. Rocks so many levels. 80s. It is. It's funny. I think about that. She didn't seem 26 anymore, but she did not seem 80 years old. Like, she was sort of ageless for a really long time. And I think, I don't know. Anyway, so I don't want to like cry on the stream, but I will tell you, she was really like, I think it's wonderful to see just the outpouring of love. And on social media, you see a lot of like NASA did something like where they had like this pink cluster. I don't remember what it was, but some beautiful collection of stars and planets that happened to be pink, and they had posted that in her honor today. And the Empire State Building lit up pink at 9:25 last night, and which I thought was really cool. And I remember like watching that movie with my mom when I was a kid, but also like my daughter and I watched it just like a year ago because I was like, you got to see, you have to see this. We were singing to the song, and I'm like, did you ever see the movie? And we came right home and watched it. So anyway, she says, Abby says, I remember Dolly appearing in Hannah Montana. She played Miley Cyrus's godmother, and she is in real life. Oh, that's so sweet. That's incredible. I know Jane Fonda posted a video because I guess the last episode of Frankie and Grace, which um, was a show that Lily Tomlin and Jane Fonda were in together, uh, that in the last show they had Dolly Parton appear as like an angel who was kind of the gatekeeper of heaven, and there was kind of a funny scene there. So I don't know. I think this what you're saying, Avi, about her being like Princess Diana, right? Same kind of thing. I totally. I remember being in Paris when that happened, and like it was the same kind of thing. It impacted people all over the world.
Yes, I've seen that movie. Unlikely Angel.
That I was thinking about. I cannot remember the name of the movie. I should ask you guys. Do you guys remember there was a movie? I just remember. So she plays this woman. She leaves her not very good boyfriend, whose name I think was Carl, but I don't remember. And apparently she stole his bowling bag. And she drives over this bridge to the big city. And Lisa McLeod and I have talked about that, like how the symbolism of a bridge and starting like a new life or a new adventure. And because I've really always connected very deeply to that imagery of driving over a bridge.
Mhm.
Every time I'm coming over the crest, I feel like something exciting is going to happen. And and so she drives over this bridge. She is trying to find a job, and she winds up as a receptionist at this radio station. And on her first day, she accidentally wanders into the coffee room, and they think that she's a psychologist who did not show up on time for her first radio show. And they put her on the air, and she starts giving advice. I cannot remember what the name of this movie is. And James Woods plays like a reporter who's like trying to break the story on her because he doesn't. I think her name was Dr. Shirley. And I don't remember the movie. I don't remember the name of the movie. I'm going to have to track that down. So, Straight Talk. Yes, exactly. Exactly. All right. Well, before this becomes the Dolly Parton We Love You hour, let's go. Or, we can just do that all through the breaks today. Let's go ahead and get going with our very first 20-minute sprint. I could do a Dolly Parton appreciation hour today. 2 hours. We could do that. Yeah. Anyway, you know what? She was a writer like us. She wrote, I don't know how many songs, but it has to be 1,000. I mean, gosh, she's so many over the years. All right, everybody. Yeah. Let's go ahead and get started with our very first sprint, starting in 3, 2. All right, we are back. So I have to tell you guys, there is something. You guys remember when Robert was going to spend the night in the haunted house, and I hadn't heard from him. Well, so this is the banner that we use for our sprints every week, right? But right above this, I have this one. Breaking news, Robert is alive and has survived the haunted house news at 11. Because I hadn't heard from him for a couple days, and it was like we weren't at the stream, and it was like thing where we were all worried about you, and it was kind of this funny thing. And then we talked obviously after you survived the haunted house, and I leave it on there because it literally cracks me up every week. I just look at it every time I'm about to start the sprint, and it just cracks me up every week. All right, you guys, let us know, what are you working on today? Avi says she would not be opposed to a Dolly Parton appreciation hour. I think that's a marvelous idea, so that's what we're going to do today. Yeah, so what are you guys working on? Let us know in the chat. Let's kick off our writing / Dolly Parton appreciation hour. And she wrote like 3,000 songs. She recorded almost 1,000, which is crazy. Yeah, I mean, crazy, and released, I think, like half of that, but amazing, just incredible. All right, Avi says Dolly taught me that kindness isn't outdated and goes a long way. She was never rude to anyone. She led with kindness. I love that. I always really loved her sense of humor. Like, she was always she could always like kind of poke fun at herself, but she was kind. She didn't particularly poke fun at other people. At least if she did, it was in a nice way. So anyway, I don't know. I love that about her. I just love that she was so just out there and herself like that. I think is a good lesson for a lot of people. How about you, Robert? What's your favorite Dolly Parton song?
I don't know that I necessarily have a favorite. Maybe Jolene.
It's funny because as much as that song is like really catchy and you can't like help to sing along with it. This is funny too. When I was a little kid, we had a bus driver who was like mean, and she wore her hair in this like severe bun, like yanked back in her hair, and we used to call her Mean Jolene. And that was the only like, she was the only person I ever met in my whole life called Jolene. But when that song came out, like it, kind of made me sort of think about it. Let's see. Maria, hello, Maria. Very nice to see you. Editing an older book for re-release. Good job. Very nice. I have no idea how all these spelling errors were missed. Love Dolly and how she fought for her family. Oh, I love that. That is, Maria, that is a really great thing to do. A lot of times we have old books that are sitting on our laptops, or we released them a million years ago and we want to give them a little refresh. And that is a really great way to like keep using your books that you've already written. Avi, working on fast drafting my 6-book fairy tale retelling series, currently on book 2, which is Beauty and the Beast. Always a favorite. Love Beauty and the Beast. Very, very nice. All right, you guys, well, let us know. I have to say my favorite, I don't know. She had this song, which I'm not a country music fan at all. I will definitely confess that. But she had this song that she released, I don't know how long it was, 10 years ago maybe, called Dumb Blonde. And it was basically like, don't underestimate me. And I always kind of love that message that kind of ran through a lot of her like movies and songs. And of course I love 9 to 5 was like so relatable, I think, to so many people. And I'm not a country music fan, but there are a lot of songs. I Will Always Love You, I think, is just incredibly powerful. And I've heard that song sung by a million different artists do that cover, and not a million, but a lot. And it's just beautiful every time. You can sing it in any way, and it's beautiful every time. And I think that's really cool.
There was Daisy mentioned the Christmas movie where she played an angel, but I remember one was Lee Majors, and I can't remember the name of that one either, but it was terrible dialogue, terrible trope. It might have just been called A Smoky Mountain Christmas, but I remember Lee Majors playing this backwoods guy. It cracked me up every year when we watched it, but I haven't seen it in a long time. I don't know what happened to that movie. They probably pulled it because it was so
Probably. Speaking of terrible movies she did, does anybody remember Rhinestone with Sylvester Stallone back in the
I
day?
remember it. I don't
Yeah.
remember it.
I
Probably
don't
for
think
reasons.
yeah, exactly. I think I saw it like with a group of friends. I think it came a long time ago. I think I was like a kid. And but I don't remember. I just remember seeing it and thinking it was the worst movie I'd ever seen in my life. So, I mean, she was always great, but she could not carry him in that movie. It was crazy. It was
There was
really
a
crazy.
period where everything was like weird comedy-esque. Do a movie with a chimpanzee or Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. It seemed like a bad era for movies.
Right, I think that's true. Well, and she did a lot of movies like where she was a singer, or there's a, obviously like a lot of singers do. But wasn't there one where she was like a choir director? When I think about it, like I never think of myself as being like a, we always think about her as kind of a singer, but I feel like I know her movies better than probably most of her songs. I mean, obviously I
Yeah,
knew the
probably too.
the $1 Million Man. Oh, I love that. Oh my God, I remember that. I will
$6
say
million man.
$6 million, right? And okay, let me just say, as a young child, it ticked it. I grew up in a family full of feminists, right? And I remember my Aunt Jerry, affectionately known as Crazy Aunt Jerry, but the good kind of crazy. I remember my Aunt Jerry telling me when I was a kid, because I remember asking, like, the whole thing with when they had the what was the woman's show with Lindsay Wagner? He was the $6 million man. Remember, her parts only cost $5 million because they were smaller, which of course everybody who knows anything about tech knows that's complete bullshit.
The Bionic Woman.
Exactly, the Bionic Woman. But I remember my Aunt Jerry like really being kind of up in arms about this. Was just funny. Like I don't remember how old I was. I feel like we were at my kitchen table when I was a kid, and I remember her saying like something to that effect, like, "That's not why her parts are cheaper."
Well, interestingly enough, not that long ago, I saw this YouTube video that popped up in my feed about that show and the Bionic Woman. And the Bionic Woman was kind of like a thing that was a spin-off of the $6 Million Man, and the viewers started outranking it, and the $6 Million Man just disappeared, and the Bionic Woman moved on for a short while after that.
Yeah.
So it topped its show.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Heather says, "Hi, been lurking for a while. Hello, Heather. We're super glad to see you." Horror Geek. The $1 Million Man was pro wrestler Ted DiBiase. I don't remember.
DiBiase.
DiBiase. I should know this because the Horror Geek makes me watch. Oh my gosh, my brain fog is so bad right now. The Ring. Something. He'll tell me what it is anyway. She never got to fight Andre the Giant as Bigfoot, though. That is a terrible, terrible tragedy for all of us. I also love the Bionic Woman. Very nice. Love. Dark Side of the Ring. Thank you. Sorry, it was just on the tip of my tongue. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and get rolling on. We like move this into like. Yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started on our next writing sprint. Dun dun dun. Here we go. Let me get that up on the screen. All right, here we go. 20 more minutes on the clock, and starting in 3, 1. Let's write. Hey, Robert, I can't mute you for some reason. All right, we are back. Super happy to see everybody. I don't know if you guys noticed Robert sort of disappeared for a second, but he's all better now and back with us. We're very happy about that. Let me.
Messing up badly.
You what?
My internet is messing up badly, and I think it's because I didn't do an update or something.
Crazy. Well, you know what's funny is I first noticed something was weird when you were not muted, which you never don't mute yourself, so that was really odd. And then when I tried to mute you, I also couldn't do that. I to the point where I came on, I was like, "Hey, Robert," but then you, but then I don't think you could hear me because you had your anyway. So, but then you disappeared immediately. So, all right. Before we talk more about tech problems, let's go ahead and talk about the news today. I'm such a dork. I still love that every time. All right, here we go, everybody. We have some really, really big news today. Number one, publishers failed to register their authors' copyrights, and now those authors are going to lose out or may lose out on the Anthropic settlement money. This is a very big deal. Yeah. Authors Guild surveyed authors after the 1.5 billion Anthropic settlement and found that authors were discovering that their traditional publishers had failed to register their books with the U.S. Copyright Office. I have to say, I have one that was missing its copyright. That was a Penguin book, and I thought it was an error, and it fell through the cracks. But turns out that that this is not. This is something that's happening kind of across the board.
Yeah, nothing seems fishy about that. Did you also hear about the author whose name I can't remember had a book deal for a debut novel for $2.5 million advance?
Yeah.
And then
yeah, I did hear that story. In fact, the Horror Geek and I have been talking about that for weeks now. Do you want to sort of dig into it a little bit?
Yeah, because that seems fishy too, because suddenly his agent and publisher both dropped him, and they said they didn't even check to see, because the claim was that he had used AI and nobody used any software to even verify that. They just dropped him outright. Right.
Unless they found a prompt in his manuscript, they don't know that. It's funny because Mike and I have talked about this quite a bit. He can drop stuff, he's been a writer for 20 some years. He can drop stuff that's old of his that AI didn't even exist at the point. Mm-hmm. And it comes up 70% chance this is written by AI or whatever. They can't do that. And it's so frustrating to me. And I will go off on this. It's so frustrating to me that they can steal our life's work and then go, well, that's to further harm us. It's just really, really, really incredibly frustrating.
It is. I'm staying away from all AI. So if I get accused of anything, it's going to look pretty darn fishy. I'm trying to document. Well, I'm not doing my YouTube channel. I probably should, and start documenting my progress there, because,
That's a good idea. That's a really good idea. Well, and that's it. I think that, as I recall, and I've mostly heard about this story through Mike. However, that he had drafts. He had previous drafts of the book, and the whole thing is just so incredibly frustrating. It just feels so unfair. It's just unfair. So, and I don't know if the guy wrote his book with AI or not, but a $2.5 million, the fact that there was a big auction, that all these people were bidding on this book, and it didn't flag for anybody. And they have essentially ruined his career. He is not going to be able to write under that same name. He's going to have to, if he wants to continue on in publishing, he's going to need a pen name. And that they had decimated this guy's career before it even starts. And here's the thing, I don't know if he wrote the book with AI or not, but neither do they. They don't know. There's no accurate, reliable way to test. And all these companies that are now trying to sell software to publishers and schools, they don't know either. They don't know either. Lisa says, once again, it's the publishing business, not the author business. True. Absolutely true. And the more that this kind of stuff happens, the more I think that big clump of authors who have moved to independently publishing their own books and creating their own storefronts and selling direct to readers and owning their reader relationships, that is the thing that will ultimately save authors, is to take the publisher, which I hate to say, but because I started traditionally published and I had some very good experiences when I was young. Question: can you get a copyright on a previously published book? I believe that you can. But I don't know that for sure, but I'll research it on the next thing. I'm like 95% sure. It doesn't mean that you can get a copyright on a book and still be included in the Anthropic. Like, so if I decided to register the copyright on Stop Getting Dumped, actually I did register the copyright on Stop Getting Dumped when I was like a million years ago. But if I decided to register the copyright on a book that was several years old, I think that the copyright is valid, but like it won't help you with regard to like the Anthropic suit. I think they had like a 3-month window, which I think is, again, kind of that's one of those administrative sort of clerical things that people, kind of forget to do. Mary says, I think you're in that same boat. And we also got something saying too bad on some that were copyrighted. Thanks for reminding to check that.
Yeah. And my first, thoughts on that from personal experience, publishers, especially if you're writing a debut novel, if you happen to be a writer that lays that golden egg, why should they pay you $2.5 million when they can take the idea and adapt it, give it to a writer who's a known moneymaker,
a work for hire, right? Or exactly.
I've had them do it to me a couple of different times. So what's to stop them from saying, hey, we're going to pay the agent like $500,000 or, a portion of that money, and everybody wins. They get the idea because ideas can't be copywritten, but we'll know if something very similar comes out in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the only way to tell. But, I don't know why they would take such a big deal book and, suddenly do that to it. If it's worth $2.5 million, it's worth a lot of money to them. They're shortcutting somewhere.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. Avi says, I was on the fence about AI because I'm mandated to use it in my job. But after all this AI witch hunt, cancel culture crap, which the fact that, don't get me started. I'm going to make my writing an AI free zone like Robert. I think that's a smart plan. Lisa says,
everything I have is on my Apple Cloud or flash drives or very old tech that I sometimes work on. So nothing has even been run through an AI spell check.
Well, I mean, here's the thing that's crazy. I've been keeping my books like in, I always keep copies. Obviously, there are 1 million copies that I email to myself, which is a habit I developed a very long time ago and never stopped doing, just as sort of a like backfill kind of careful error. But like all my stuff is stored in Google now, like on Google Drive. And I think, and then it just came out like they're digging through, their AI is learning on everybody's Google Drive. And I think I pay for that service. I didn't give them permission to go through and look at all my 87 drafts in progress or my final drafts. And it's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah. Google admitted that they were doing it a while back. So I don't really trust them. I haven't trusted them for a while.
Well, and if you think about it, Amazon is also deeply invested in AI. And what do they have? Every freaking book on earth. So yeah, exactly. All right. Next story, you guys are, this I think is actually good news. Ingram is launching a NetGalley Edelweiss competitor. Edelweiss is like NetGalley, but it primarily targets librarians. And the good news is that Ingram Spark authors, meaning indie authors, will be able to use it. It is going to be officially launched August 17th for booksellers, librarians, and other industry professionals, especially relevant to indies. And it's basically just an Ingram platform for digital review copies and professional book discovery. I think Ingram has a huge advantage here because they're like kind of the sole distributor. I should say that there's the sole like traditional distributor that's left. So, and the other good news is that you will be able to set that up. You can add your titles directly from Ingram. And I think that is a really fantastic way, especially to market directly to bookstores and librarians. So hello, library marketing. Woohoo. Story number 3, Kobo's U.S. sales have doubled, and not just this year, but 2 years in a row. This is a fantastic. Kobo previously had a relationship with Walmart. They are now going to be distributing physical books through Best Buy. Not every book, obviously, that's uploaded through Kobo, but there's an opportunity there. And I really, really think that if you are not currently distributed through Kobo and you're indie publishing, that is something that you definitely want to consider. And then my last story of the day, publishing has hit $33.4 billion, and the biggest channel growth came from physical bookstores. What? People are going back to the bookstores, and I think that is really, really fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think that probably a lot of that has to do with the fact that all of a sudden we have a lot of romance bookstores popping up all over the country. Mystery thriller books have always had, not always, but for a very long time, there have been lots of mystery bookstores across the country. And inexplicably, romance really did not have that. And then I would say about 10 years ago, Ripped Bodice out in California opened their store, and we've started to see these romance bookstores popping up all over the place. So I think that's probably a big chunk of it. But I hope it's just because people are going back to bookstores and buying physical books again. And I think that's really, I think that's a very promising sign for authors.
I think it is. In most of the arts community, there's a big uprising for just analog and physical art and things that you can, not buy a print or not buy AI. There's a lot of people opposed to it. So it's having a reverse reaction, which is good because the prices of like artwork and various things are actually escalating. So in a way, there's an opportunity in this for creators if they do, like you said, and they're managing to market it themselves.
Yeah, I think there's a real, and the Horror Geek and I talk about this all the time. Like, he is a big gamer. He has a massive game collection, but he has that physical media. He does not like the idea of the, downloadable games because the licenses change and all of a sudden you don't own this game you bought anymore. And this is the same thing is true with like films and things like that. Like Amazon loses the license and all of a sudden you can't see the movie that you paid $20 for on Prime anymore. So anyway, I think overall that this is pretty good news. The copyright registration is incredibly frustrating because it is a standard in traditional publishing contracts that the publisher will register the copyright. And in some cases, if you register your own copyright, they get really cranky about that. I'd registered my own copyright for my very first book with Penguin, and the amount of crap that they gave me over doing that, and I didn't know what I was doing, obviously. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, I've written a book, I better register the copyright. They gave me so much crap about that in the beginning, and I did not do it for any trad published books after that, but it was quite a surprise to learn that at least one had slipped through the cracks. Was not a very happy surprise.
That is odd because we were all encouraged to copyright those things for years, and suddenly they want control of that as well. I don't like traditional publishing and anything. I mean, coming from my early career,
right, comics, yep.
They are a miniature, like sort of concentrated version of the entire publishing company, and those same dirty tricks with stealing everything, changing contracts constantly, it's gone on since the beginning. I mean, we just haven't heard the stories, but it's been all these tricks going on, and now they have AI as kind of like a get out of jail free card. They can do whatever they want. So I don't trust them at all.
Yeah. Well, right. That, I guess we could say, like, big companies have been ripping off artists for years. And but the one good thing is that we do, because we can talk to each other, because we can control our own sales channels, our own reader relationships, our own publishing. Now, there's an opportunity there to take some of that power back.
There is.
Lisa says, Google's scouring your data. Who would have guessed that a for-profit company has profit as their true north? What? True. Very true. Mary said they had a signing at Barnes & Noble on Saturday, sold books to all ages. Love that. That's fantastic. Love. Avi says, so true. We downloaded Big City Adventure games and now they're saying we have to pay for the subscription all over again. Hell to the no, we said. Online games are not what they used to be. And Lisa says, ask Elvis or Brittany about being used. Yep.
Mhm.
All right. Let's do, now that we're all fired up, let's get those books written and finish up with our very last sprint. There we go.
And copyright early, because in terms of copyright, the last book that I sent in March, I still don't have the copyright notice.
Oh my goodness gracious.
They're just claiming delays from government shutdowns. Everything is so backed up that they're like, we'll get around to you when we get around to you, and you'll know because you'll get something in the mail. That's the response at this point.
Right. Yeah. And which is really unfair, because if you think about this Anthropic settlement, there are these guidelines where you have to have the book copyrighted within the first 3 months of publication. But if you are sending it in after, post publication or around publication, and a lot of people do, because then you can send a physical book to the Library of Congress, then you may be sort of delayed because of things that are, government delays, things that are outside your own control, and you may end up losing out because of that. So it is something to just pay attention to. Be sure to copyright your books. And I have been reminded today that I need to send in the copyrights for my new book. All right, let's go ahead and get started with our very, very last sprint. Let me get back on here. Here we go. All right, everybody. Last one. Make it count. 20 minutes, right like the wind. Here we go. Starting in 3, 2, All right, we are back. Sorry, I got that banner going. All right. You guys, I like this is crazy because I literally, like when I just uploaded what seven figure authors do differently to Ingram, there was a box to check about it's literally a box, add DRC. And I don't know, like I was just thinking this was like digital content protection, like when you upload to Amazon, you can protect whether or not you want it to, I don't know what they do with it anyway. But essentially whether or not you want your ebook to be like DRM is what I was thinking it was, digital rights management. And when you upload a book to Amazon KDP, you can check or leave unchecked this box. And for a long time, I did not check it because what it meant was if your person that bought your ebook was in one part of the world, like when they bought the book, maybe they're at the airport and then they travel back to their home country or vice versa, they can't read the book because it's only for zone 1, or you know what I mean? So for a long time, the conventional wisdom was you don't want digital rights management on your books that you upload through Amazon. And I checked that box without knowing what it was or thinking about it because my brain went to DRM, not DRC, which stands for digital review copy, because I did not anticipate that on Ingram. Like it just didn't even occur to me that that would be a thing. But I had checked that box because I thought maybe some sort of digital rights management might protect you in some way from the, AI companies scraping your data. And so that was why I sort of mindlessly checked that box. But that's the thing that gets you into Covered, which is kind of amazing. So I did post a link in the chat if you guys are, if you want to learn a little bit more about that. They have it's sort of open for early access, but I think this is just fantastic. Like it could really be a great sort of early adopter opportunity. Not very many people know about it yet. And so I think you could get in while the getting's good. We don't know, but there are some real benefits to being an early adopter. So there you go. All right. Fantastic. Cool. All right. Anybody have anything to say? I know we were like, oh, this is going to be our Dolly Parton appreciation stream. So if anybody has anything else that they would like to share before we go, please share in the chat and we will put that up. But before we leave, let's go ahead and do our outros, because I think as usual, we have forgotten our introductions again. So Robert, tell the fine folks who you are and a little about your channel before we go today.
My channel is The Story Detective, where I take various forms of storytelling and place it beneath my Sherlockian lens and break down the craft for the viewer. And hopefully you'll learn some things so you won't have to use AI and get in trouble.
Excellent advice, Robert. Excellent advice. Love that. I'm Lisa Daly, and if you don't know me, I am a USA Today bestselling author and book coach. And on my channel, we talk about how to write a book you're super proud of and get it published. Thank you so much for being here. Say more about the similar acronyms. Okay, so DRM equal. I'm going to put a thing up, but I can't type very fast. You guys know DRM is digital rights management, and I can't type. And DRC is digital review copy. It's a little checkbox. There you go. All right. Very cool. I'm going to have to check it out a little more and see whether or not my book is actually in there. It did just launch like just over a week ago. So let's get in while the getting's good. I don't think there's a charge for it now. So can't hurt, might help. Anyway. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for being here this week. We will see you next Wednesday. It was kind of a fun stream today. I do miss Dolly, but I'm glad we got to all share all of that together today. So, all right, we will see you next time. Keep on writing.
And keep those keyboards clacking. And remember, knowledge is power. Educate yourself.